of this country who all began to dream the same dream. And when the morning came, there arose across this nation people thinking one and the same. And they awoke to find their freedom and all their liberties had gradually been taken away. And when they realized the danger to their posterity, I heard those patriotic people say, we want this country back. We ain't just joking, Jack. We want our liberty and our dignity and our freedoms and our rights restored. We want this country back. She's been driven way off track. We're wide awake and we're madder than hell now, and we ain't gonna take it anymore. No, we're not gonna take it anymore. Remember golden days when the stars and stripes forever symbolized her glorious name, America. But now it's all been changed, and when we gaze upon her glory, it's hard to fight back feelings of shame. We're fed up with lying politicians and greedy corporations who have sold us out time and again. And we're sick and tired of sending our soldiers off to wars that we were never meant to win. We want this country back. We ain't just joking, Jack. We want our liberty and our dignity and our freedoms and our rights restored. We want this country back. She's been driven way off track. We're wide awake and we're madder than hell now, and we ain't gonna take it anymore. No, we're not gonna take it anymore. Now we know our cause is right and our victory's on the way, and we won't give up the fight till we hear 200 million say, we want this country back. We ain't just joking, Jack. We want our liberty and our dignity and our freedoms and our rights restored. We want this country back, and we ain't taking any more slack. We're wide awake and we're madder than hell now, and we ain't gonna take it anymore. No, we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not.
And this is the new Concord Hour, being brought to you by the Microeffect Radio Broadcasting Network. Today's date is June the 28th in the year of our Lord 2016. And I want to thank those of you that are in the chat room: Aerospaceman, Betty Boop, Bonnie 3268, Cy Evangel, Hardway 90909, Joe McNeil, Theocrat, and Valerie Keel. And any and all of those of you out there that are listening to us here on the Microeffect, either on your laptop computers, on your hard computers, on your iPhones, on your iPads, welcome to the new Concord Hour Effect. And today is part 4 of 5 parts that we are discussing with David Zuniga, who's with America Again. His organization was Love Work in Progress for over 10 years. And he's got basically what I would call a board of directors, volunteers and people that are helping him get this organization off the ground. We have in the chat room right now Theocrat that was saying to us something very similar to what David was sharing with us last week in parts 1, 2, and 3. Yes, Lincoln, that's President Lincoln, folks. His violations of the Constitution are all documented, and he did or was going to get those violations pardoned. Okay, folks? And Theocrat also said many Southern slaves fought on the side of the South for what I see are a couple of main reasons. And David brought up to us last week that the Civil War was not about slavery, folks, so much as it was about industrialization, the North wanting to control the South, and so many other things that David has gone into as well. One of the things the Theocrat said, most slaves knew that if Americans didn't buy them, when the slave ships docked in America, their fate would be far worse than if Americans didn't buy them. Most were thankful to their American masters rescuing them from a far worse fate. These are the facts that you will not hear in the government textbooks. In fact, he says there's a good Civil War debate going on right now where many of these facts are presented by Pastor Steve Wilkins. So, folks, again, we have had David up for 3 parts this week. One of the things that David sent to me, and I quote, "To accomplish anything, you must have a vision and communicate that vision to others, rather than blaming them for what you have not enabled them to see. Underlying this vision is the faith depends upon God, and that God can do exceedingly abundantly above all that we think or ask, and that God is not constrained to save by many or by a few, and that his eyes roam to and from the earth to show himself strong for those whose heart is wholly his. But faith has to open your eyes. You have to find people, those people who want what you want. You have a glimpse, who also have a glimpse of the unseen that you see, who are sick of the obsolete model and want a new one. Folks, we've seen that over with the Brits exiting the European Union. He goes on to say, don't think for a moment they have all disappeared, because I talk to them every day. There are thousands, no millions of them with both confidence and integrity. Not only are you looking for them, they're also looking for you. And that came out of Franklin Sanders, Time to Talk or Fish. So with that said, I would like to welcome back to the show again David Zuniga with America Again. And we're on part 4 today. We have part 5 tomorrow, Wednesday, folks. Hello, David.
Hi, Maggie. Good to be back.
Thank you for coming back.
Well, last time I compared the current state of the world to medieval Europe in the times of the bubonic plague, because which was also called the Black Death, because I think what you're going to see the rest of this year and all through next year and possibly beyond, for the Europeans, it's going to be tough, and it's not going to get better soon. I don't know what to say to my European friends and brethren. But what I did say, I'm speaking to Americans, and I said that the complaining and cynical attitudes that I see and hear every day in the Patriot camp, in the Christian constitutionalist camp, it reminded me of that. It's like a black death of the mind. So that's what I compared it to last time. Okay, our mission, America Again, our goal is to take advantage of what's going on. There's this amazing confluence of world events. I know, obviously, like everything else in his universe, this is provided by God. So, and it's provided by him right in front of us to turn the tables on the global elite for the first time in 180 years. Since Andrew Jackson was in the White House, we have not had this kind of an opportunity opening up to us. Now, whether or not we're going to take it is really up to you, and I mean every one of you. And that's what I want to speak about today, because let me just say our temporary website, americaagain.net, I explain all of this stuff and much more. We have a lot of people inputting into the site. Our real website is under development right now. It's gorgeous. It's much more helpful, much prettier, much better in every way than our temporary site. It'll be up in 4 weeks. My latest book, Fear the People, lays out our detailed plan in the order that we plan to take actions across the Republic, and that book is available for free on the website. Go to the bottom of the page. On the right-hand side, it says PDF book. Just click, and you can download that book for free. You can buy the hard copy at Amazon for $43.50. You can buy it at the Power Mall for $24, but you can get it for free by just going to the website.
Okay. And then what we're going to do is at the bottom of the hour, we go to a station break about 2:28, and then come back for the rest of Part 4. Tomorrow, during the last part, Part 5, will there be an opportunity at the bottom of the hour tomorrow for people to call in if they want to and ask you questions?
Yes, I was going to do that. This last one tomorrow, I'm going to make it about half as long as the others. So, yeah, we'll have the whole second half of the hour to do Q&A.
Okay, so folks, remember, you got to tune in tomorrow to Part 5. At the bottom of the hour at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time, David will take any and all questions you have. You'll be calling into the microeffect number, which I'll give you again tomorrow. And then, folks, also, Bonnie is taking this 5-part series as a favor to me, and she's putting it up on YouTube. So, therefore, you can go back and listen to David's entire presentations, 1 through 5.
Good.
Very good, David.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's back out. Let's try to take a God's eye view of this world for a minute. I was born here in Texas, lived on a ranch outside Laredo, Texas, right on the Mexico border, for 47 years. And I became intimately familiar with the Black Death of the mind because that's what every Mexican lives with from birth. They have no choice. And you can see it in any population that is incapable of self-government. And in the case of the wonderful people of Mexico, and I love them, I've got tons of Mexican friends, I'm just saying, you are what you are. You have what you have. Your basic background is what it is. There's basically two classes in Mexico. There's the indigenous folk, the people that are descended from the Aztecs and Mayas and Incas and Toltecs, Olmecs and all those others. A lot like our American Indians, some of which were, at one time cannibals, most of which were constantly at war with one another. It's a tough life. All North American tribes lived under either more or less a monarch, a tyrant. The other class of Mexican is descended from Spaniards, the ones that came in to conquer, conquistadores. They've also lived, back in Spain, they lived under more or less tyrannical monarchs since time out, always. So any Mexican, just like any Central American, any South American, if they wanted popular sovereignty today, they wouldn't find it by going back to their roots. They don't have any roots of popular sovereignty to go to. So liberty under self-government is a very unique thing, very hard thing to find. We have that. That's our background. Look at Canada. To the north of us, there's also several. In this case, there's three classes of folks up there. The ones descended from North American Indian tribes, the ones descended from French traders and immigrants, and the ones descended from Europeans that they liked the beautiful natural wealth and open space of North America, but they wanted to keep the sort of feckless security of the European monarchs, of the bureaucracies that they had there. So just like Mexicans, any Canadian that today wants to find real liberty, real popular sovereignty, they don't have any history to draw on. They can't go back and look in their history and say, hey, we need to, like your opening song said a minute ago, we want our country back. Well, they can't. A Mexican can't say that. A Canadian can't say that. Only we can say that. That is a huge responsibility on us. If we lose this thing, it's our fault. As I'll show you in a minute, we're not going to lose this thing. This is, by the grace of God, this is the most amazing time in 6 generations.
Yeah, I'm so excited. When I saw, I've got a son-in-law from England. My daughter met him when he was visiting over here. She went back to meet his family, and they wouldn't let her leave, and she got married over there. They've been married about 15 years, but she's here living in California, down in California, raising my grandchildren down there. And his mother and her mother is from Ireland, and his father's from England. And he was born and raised in England, and I do not know what is going on right there with now. I can only hope and assume that his family is supporting this breakaway as well, because when I saw that they've got their sovereignty back, I don't drink, but boy, I went out and got a nice big strong glass of lemonade to cheer them and celebrate. I really did. I was like screaming and yelling and doing the Snoopy dance, and I'm like, it was inspiring, David. It was so inspiring.
Well, it was a long time coming, and it's funny, because we can sit there and smile at it because we did it to them, right?
Right, exactly.
We broke off from them. So, but here's my contention is that there's no European people. I mean, Scandinavians say one thing, and Germans and all. Look, there is no European that has ever had anything like American popular sovereignty that offers this degree of liberty to the individual and risk, of course, that our Constitution is designed to afford Americans. There's just nothing else on earth like it. And in Fear the People, in my latest book, I say that things are exactly the opposite of what most conservatives are whining and screaming about right now. They're too busy looking at the enemy's navel while they should be cutting him off at the ankles. So if you're complaining about how corrupt and how evil the bad guys are, you have to stand up right now, okay? You have to get up out of that bed and do some. I've asked you several times, as I've been on Maggie's show, this is my fourth time, I've said, you need to join. In your town, if America, again, isn't going yet, don't expect to sit down, eat a TV dinner, let your neighbors stand up in your place, and wait for it all to come out on Blu-ray. It's not going to happen. You're the problem then. You're not the solution.
I have a question though for you, David, and I know some of these people are being very legit about this because my dad lives in a veterans housing complex where some people there have literally no income coming in other than food stamps, and they're getting their rent subsidized. There's other people, they barely even have any money to spare, and I
am not speaking to a person who cannot afford $9 a month. Okay. If you cannot afford as far as cost, we give everything away, except we do require that if you're going to be a part of this, you've got to have some skin in the game. And $9 a month is not too much to ask. I put in everything my wife and I own. We've done everything we can. We're not going to let people in for free. I'm sorry. Now, we will let you in for $9 a month. You've got to pay your way, and you've got to show that you mean it. That you've got to start going out and telling others, winning others over to this. But for those for which $9 a month is impossible, don't join. We're not asking you to if you can't afford it. We're certainly not. If you're that hard up, you're not going to join, and that's cool. That's great. That's fine with us. Many, many millions of Americans can easily afford it. So going back to this mental thing, though, because a lot of people, it's not the money. They don't want to do the thing. They want to watch somebody else do it.
Exactly.
47 years. I lived on a very porous border, and Mexico border has always been porous. Here in Texas, we were part of Mexico for a long time. So it's very porous, and this Black Death of the mind is really deep in these people's hearts. It's the same, if you've spent, like you said, but if you've spent any time in Europe or Asia or Africa, it's the same thing everywhere. Once you get back home to the U.S., man, you really appreciate. We are so unique. And the thing is that Americans under about maybe 40 years old, they don't realize that. They think, everybody's, they look at social media and think, we're all kind of the same. No, we're not. We don't live the same. We can't live the same. We don't have that freedom, that liberty. You can't get that in most of the world, no matter what you do. So once we lose, as a collective memory, once we lose that, while still exercising responsibility, while exercising diligence, sometimes in really hard circumstances, once we lose that ability, we're finished. America's finished. No other people on earth have that collective memory to forge this kind of a blessed life out of their own histories. They don't have it, so they can't get it. There's nothing there to grab from. They don't know what to go by. So the Bolivarian Revolution, Simón Bolívar, the guy that founded Bolivia, that guy, he had this Bolivarian Revolution, and he was going to he copied the Founding Fathers. He loved the Founding Fathers, and he read all their stuff, and he said, oh, cool, we'll just do that over here, right here in Bolivia. Yeah, they ran him out of town on a rail. It didn't work there. You can't just do this anywhere. And if we don't protect and defend and restore this today, here, we're going to lose it everywhere on earth.
Don't you think this thing that happened in England? One of the things I was listening to on Fox News last night, and one of the guys on there even said, he said, we've got to get back America again. And, of course, I was already thinking about you and today. And one of the other guys came up and he said, you know what? He said, we can get America back again. We can do it, but the people have to back, like you said, and waiting for somebody else to do it. And then the other guy came up and said, oh, look, Portugal's looking at doing it now. And he named like 7 other countries that are all thinking about doing what Britain's doing, because they know that the European Union, and I quote this guy, the European Union are unelected men and women that are tyrants, they are globalists, they are New World Order, and as he called them, they are the rich elitists. And now all of a sudden they realize that we, the middle-class people, aren't going to take it anymore.
Well, correct. But that has all kinds of readings when you get over to the far left and people say, well, we're not going to take it anymore either, but we want a bunch of free stuff and we want you to pay for it. So, look, there's a lot of things happening in this world today, and I see it as a huge opportunity, because everything is being tested. And this, by the way, this is all the belated fallout from the Internet, which is going to test every nation state in history. It's going to test every one of them to the breaking point. So there's nothing that says that the current alignment of nation states, the names, the borders, etc., have to remain the way they are. They're fairly transitory, actually, if you look at history. So, but now let's look at us. Let's look back at us. See what we have to do. Let's not talk generalities. You know, Trump might be a mess, and he is. He's a mess in a lot of ways, but I think he's a blessing in other ways, and a lot of us are starting to find that out. As we go further and further along, it looks more and more like God is blessing us with just what we deserve. And you can see that both ways. I mean, you could say, uh-oh, or you could say, yeah, because I was a real self-righteous jerk when I first started looking at Trump many months ago. I wrote things about him. I was a knee-jerk Christian, self-righteous. I really came down on the wrong side of the guy. And the more I saw him bear up under pressure over the months and put everybody to shame, I mean, one by one, he made liars of them. I'm saying, I read the Psalms a lot, and Psalm 94 I love. The Psalm for our mission at America Again. Psalm 90, God says he's going to wipe out those that make crooked laws and kill the innocent, They're going to get theirs. And I think Trump is a very odd way to go about it, but he's the only one in the field of 17 this time around. He was the only one that would confound the media and confound D.C. organized crime and do it with a huge smile on his face, But Trump can't save us. We have to realize presidents under our form of government, no matter how, if they do get too autocratic, they're breaking the law. They're doing what Obama's been doing again and again and again. So he can't do much on his own, but he can do a lot of cheerleading, and he can punch the point of the spear through the enemy's defense so that responsive, energetic, courageous, tough-hearted Americans can stand up and do what we have to do. So we don't have monarchs here. We don't have, emperors here. But either we, the people, do what has to be done, or things are going to go from bad to worse. So let me just tell you what I've seen and why I'm such an optimist right now in this part of my life. It's so weird because it freaks me out, too. I did not expect to be here in this part of my life. I'm 61 years old. I've been a cattleman, home builder, real estate developer, commercial contractor. For 28 years, I was an architectural engineer. I did school design, church design, car dealerships, restaurants, industrial, retail, 50 projects in those 28 years. I saw every time I would do a design. It would take many months, much detailing, much planning, writing specifications. After all the calcs, it's all the detailing, tons of stuff. And you think, man, this is never going to finish. I'm never going to see that building. Finally, you get out there into the planning and staging and execution by contractors that know what they're doing. And by, in each of their disciplines, 1,000 detailers start coming together every day, every week, every month. And, sometimes it's 6 or 8 months later, or more, you walk around in the building you designed, you see everything exactly the way you designed it. It's kind of like, making a meal out of a cookbook. And there's no mystery in it, because when you design it yourself, and you know that that's the way it was supposed to be. But what did it take? It took a ton of work, a ton of responsibility, people getting to the job site on time every day, being diligent about every detail. It's a lot of work, folks. It's not magic. To make something happen that's very complex, it's not impossible at all. People throw their hands up. Oh, man, I read your book. There's so many details. Oh, shit, man. You ought to see. Oh, man, who's going to do all that stuff? Well, you're not, obviously. I was a book editor for a couple of years, and up in Massachusetts, and I saw the messiest pile of junk manuscripts hit my desk. And 4 or 5 months later, you had this beautifully typeset, illustrated, bound book. Beautiful. You say, man, I can't believe that author did this. It took a lot of work by a team to create a gorgeous book out of what started out as, terrible spelling, terrible, syntax was wrong, lots of stuff was missing. The editors and all the typesetters and all the artists and everybody worked with the author, and it's beautiful at the end. I was a missionary pilot for a couple of years. I used to fly in and out of Mexico into the wilderness, on roads and dry stream beds and stuff, and it was some pretty hairy situations. But if I flew my flight plan, if I watched my fuel, if I trusted my instincts, got home again. No more Bibles, no more blankets, no more pump parts, rabbits, whatever we were taking over there and back. It works. If you follow just do the thing that you have planned to do and be responsible. Don't be like a stupid, don't be like a kid that just said, give it to me and I'll enjoy it. No, you've got to do it yourself. That's what America is. That's so different from the rest of the world. Almost all the rest of the world, they look to government for everything because they've always looked to government. Well, what is government? It's just a taker. It's just a sponge off of all the people. Don't you see? Don't you understand? This is terribly inefficient.
Right.
If you do things by the book. I was a scuba instructor for years, and I taught everybody from 12-year-old kids to elderly ladies that, they'd look at an 80 cubic foot tank, dive tank, and say, I can't do that. I can't do that. I said, ma'am, I promise you can do it. By the end, she'd be, by all our open water work was finished, and I'd help her with her tank. But anybody can do a seemingly complex thing. If you read the book, do the work, stop whining and complaining, just get it done. It's all it takes. I told you this before, I founded some classical Christian schools in 3 different states. There were a bunch of them we had hoped to do, but I quit. After 4 of them, I was just too burned out and burned all my money. I mean, my wife and I burned all the money we had made up to that time in these schools. And what I would do, I'd get there and meet with a bunch of folks, mostly doctors and lawyers and foo-foos that wanted their kids to go to a foo-foo school. But we would start with a room full of squabbling, clueless, founding board members, all with their own ideas, arguing about everything from, the color of the uniforms to the school mottos. It was such a mess for months and months. We would end up with such an amazing curriculum, staff, campus, the whole culture. It's amazing. After a few years of hard work by lots of people, a lot of responsibility by a lot of people, you see these schools. They're still there. There's thousands of kids in them. It's amazing. And it was such a mess at first.
Well, we're going to go to a station break right now, folks. Then we're going to bring David back and talk more about what he believes that we can do. We've got to get you guys encouraged to know that we can do this. It's a very simple process. Again, folks, $9 a month. It's almost the end of the month now. I know a lot of you are having to dip into your pockets. I'm going to just just send a whole check off for $108 and, send it to him right away rather than trying to remember every month to send it to America Again, folks. It's a way for them to pay for their expenses and the time and trouble for their internet accessibility to put this information up on the internet for us. We're going to be right back on the other side of the hour, folks. And David, hold right there, hold that thought, and don't go away. Folks, this is Maggie Rose, and this is the New Concord Hour. We're back with you again with part 4 of 5-part series. Part 5 is tomorrow here on the Micro Effect with David Zuniga, founder and CEO of America Again. And I myself, there's $108. I'm just sending it in one swoop. My father just contacted me by text. He wants me to get a check from him to send in as well. But, folks, we have to do more than that. We have to also go in our community and maybe put together a community meeting or something with people in our community and talk about America Again. Maybe show one of the videos that they have up online. And we need to get more people in your communities involved. We have a message here from Pet Monkey David. He wants to know, can you please give your address over the air so they know where to send their checks? Again, that came from Pet Monkey. He said, should he give his address over the air so we know where to send the checks?
Yeah. Can I send that to you so that you can put it up on your site or something, or just give it over the air?
Give it over the air as well.
Okay. Yeah. It should be made out. Now, we've just changed the name. This is very confusing. We began our Texas LLC under the name Dentis Decimum, which means teeth for the 10th, like teeth for the 10th Amendment. But that was too cute by half. I should have never done that. So we're changing it back to America Again LLC. That paperwork is in Austin right now. Should be out in a little while. So if you want to make the check to America Again LLC, that's great. It may take us a little while to cash it, or just hang on to it for now and send it in a few weeks after our paperwork is done. But it's America Again LLC. And it should be America Again. It's all one word, and then it's got an exclamation point on the end of it. So it's America Again, and then comma LLC. 1, just the number 1, doe skin, like the skin of a doe, not a buck, but a doe. Doe skin, DOESKIN, Drive, number 301, Bernie, BOENE, Texas 78006.
Could you give that one more time, please? America Again, comma, LLC, like Lima, Charlie, the number 1, so it's number 1, Doeskin Drive?
Number 1, it's just 1, Doeskin Drive, number 301.
Oh, number 301.
Number 30, Suite 301.
Okay.
And then Bernie, Texas, BOERNE, Texas, 78006.
Okay,
So
how do you spell Bernie again?
RNE.
BOEORE.
RNE.
Oh, RNE.
BOERNE.
Texas, and the zip code?
78006.
Okay. So, folks, again, that's America Again, LLC, 1 Doeskin Drive, DOE, then SKIN Drive, suite number 301, Bernie, BOERNE, Texas, 78006. And you can either send $9 a month or send just a whole $108 for the year. So once a year membership, total is $108. That is not much at all, David.
If you go on the website, it allows you to pay every 2 months, every 3 months. You can do it however you want. And the new website will do the same thing. So,
okay,
but if you're going to do it by check, you can do that. Okay, now, let's talk about what we're doing, okay? Because we've talked about all the basic stuff and about why we're so bad, why we are the way we are. And we've got, Black Plague of the month. How do we get out of this? We have to take action. It's just like all the things that I just told you about that I've been through in my life. I've done all this stuff, And it always requires that first you plan everything, and then you work your plan. And if you do that, it doesn't matter whether you're on a scuba dive or on an instrument flight in an aircraft, or if you're building a building that's super fancy looking and looks impossible to build. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's amazing how if you just plan the thing and then dive your plan or fly your plan, whatever. Okay, so here's what we're doing. The first thing we want to do is remove the Congress from Washington, D.C. forever. Now, that's the really cool, powerful thing. We talked about that weeks ago. But to do that, we first have to get the 27 more state legislatures to ratify the original First Amendment. We also talked about that. Doing that is, we're going to have one, calling it Proclamation Day. We don't know the day yet because we don't have the people signed up for all 50 states yet. But on that one day, we're going to have a team at all 50 state houses at the same hour, the same day. And we're all going to read, 39 groups are going to read the same proclamation, and then the 11 in the states that have already ratified are going to read a slightly different proclamation that's basically just saying, we're the American people. Guess what? We're the boss now, and you either listen to us or your head's going to roll. So
right.
We're basically going to, in all 50 states at the same hour, the same day, going to read the Riot Act to our servants. See?
Right.
Now, that's going to be an historic day. And so if we don't do it in all 50, it's not going to have the impact. So right now we have 10 state leaders. I'm the state leader for Texas. I went ahead and took my state because I love it and because I want to try to work my state. But we need somebody in Salem, in or near Salem, to run that team on that day. But we also need somebody anywhere in Oregon that'll say, you know what, I'll lead Oregon. I'll do stuff on the website. I won't run around. I won't hold meetings and all that garbage because that's not what we're about. We are not about bylaws and officers and meetings. None of that. That's all old school. We're going to do everything either on the website or on the ground, and we're not a political organization with all the garbage that ties people down. So, but we do need somebody for Oregon to stand up for Oregon and say, okay, I will kind of run herd on this group, and I will help. With anything that comes up in Oregon, I'll find people that'll go there or whatever. So we're looking for a state coordinator for Oregon. Preferably, boy, it would be great if you were in or near Salem. But if you're not, we're looking for somebody. So that's one thing. Obviously, we're looking for somebody still in Sacramento, in or near Sacramento. So if, again, those of you that are listening in California, we're still looking for a California leader. We just started this last week, and we already have 10 leaders. So,
do you have anybody in Washington State right now?
We do, yes. Okay. Yeah, Joy Wright is taking Washington.
Okay,
and,
great.
So we're trying to move down the coast. We really need Oregon. So if you're listening and if you read the book and you say, I could do this. I could represent this to other people if I am asked a question. I can kind of just answer questions on the website if they come up for my state. So what we're going to do is this new website is gorgeous. If you look at our current website, a lot of people say it's real pretty. Boy, it's nothing compared to the new one. So when you see the new website, you'll be able to click on a state, see the leader, click on a state, see the members. You'll be able to go into the forums by state or the national forum where we're discussing things generally, what we're doing next. This first thing requires them to hold a vote. It takes all of one day. They just have to hold a vote on the original First Amendment to the Constitution. It's not rocket science. We give you the package. We give you everything you need. If you're running, let's say you're the coordinator for Oregon, or you're the person running the capital action team for Oregon in Salem, we give you the package. We give you everything you need to look at, read, say, hand out to the legislators. Then we email to all of your legislators in Salem their package. You don't have to do any of that. We do that for you. So we have the names and email addresses of all 7,383 state legislators in the country, and so we take care of that side. and we just connect with you over the internet on our, on the forum for your state. We say, okay, we did this, you need to do that, and we just start working together, and we're just going to squish them. We're just going to surround them and totally leave them nowhere to run.
And that was a question. That was a question Pet Monkey had. The question is, David, can we clean house for the move?
Well, this is going to take a long time. Just so you know, this has never been tried before by any population on Earth, okay? So this is really unusual. The last time anything like this was tried was in 1776.
Okay.
Now, that was with arms. This time it's with brains, because they left us that Constitution. We don't need to use arms again. We need to use our brains. So that's what we're doing, tactical force massing over the Internet. I feel that Mr. Trump, if we do our homework, we're working back channels right now. We have several of his friends, people that know him well enough to get in to see him before he takes off. After he takes off, it's going to be really hard. But we're trying to work back channels, at least so he knows everything we're doing and sees it. And when it's time, he can come online and say, hey, I'm all for America again, all of that. So we think it's going to be a perfect storm for constitutionalists and Christians who are brokenhearted today and saying, oh, man, I want to give up. I quit. Don't quit now. This is the worst possible time to walk away from the future of this republic. The whole world will watch what the Americans can do by the grace of God, and that's very important, by the grace of God and peacefully. So, all right, so we go through this. There are several blog articles. There's going to be a lot of stuff on the new website about it. But let me just talk about some basic things about what happens when you approach them. When we as small groups approach the legislators in our state house, let me tell you how important the Capitol buildings are. Just the architecture. And again, I was an architectural engineer, this stuff for half my life. And so it is very important that you understand what happens to you when you are in those buildings. When you walk into a state house, any state house, the impact of monumental architecture on your psyche, you don't know what's happening, but believe me, it's happening. You feel insignificant in scale, number one thing. That's kind of obvious. The building is huge. But it's not just a massive building. It's a very permanent building. Notice everything is marble and bronze and brass, and, it's very permanent. You have 18 to 30-plus foot tall, high ceilings, and you have this celestial dome over your head. You walk into the rotunda, you look up, and what happens? You feel dizzy. It's huge. It's celestial. It's kind of like the pyramids of Egypt. It's kind of like you walk into any giant mansion. If you know someone who lives in a really large mansion, walk in that place and see if you don't feel at least slightly intimidated. Well, it's
right.
Much worse when you're walking into your building in the Capitol. It's your building. Remember that. These are your employees in there, and you're the boss. You're the boss coming in, okay? So you've got to get that, all right? Now, here's the coolest part of our Bring Congress Home Act, at least to me, as a former architectural engineer. We're taking Congress forever out of the city of Washington, D.C., okay? That city-state, the most powerful, ruthless, lawless city-state in the history of humanity, is going to lose its guts forever. We're going to take Congress out of that town. Okay, but watch what happens to them. Now they become us, because now there's 6,400 of them, so a lot of us can run for office. So it's going to be a very, very different group of people, right? The demographic of Congress is going to change. Citizen statesmen in there. Now, where are we going to office? We're going to office in regular lease spaces all over the country, in our own district, within walking or driving distance of the 50,000 people we serve. That's what I say we. If I were to run, that's what we're going to do. If you're a member of the U.S. House in the future, you are now going to be just an American. You're just an American living and working in your own hometown. Do you see how different that is? You don't have that celestial dome over your head ever again. You don't have 9 people or 12 people on staff. You have 2, maximum 2 for a congressman. Okay, now if you're a senator, you're probably going to end up officing in the State House because you're supposed to be representing the legislature of your state. Until the lawless 17th Amendment was passed, the whole idea of our Constitution is there was one House representing the people, one House representing the states. That's the Senate. So we're going back to that. One of our 22 reform laws is to repeal the 17th Amendment. That is a terrible, terrible amendment, and we've got to repeal it. Anyway, I just wanted to get this into your heads. Before we ever do this first deal that we're going to do together, remember when you walk up to that building, hey, this is mine. This is my building. I'm the boss. Okay? Now, you can't act like a horse's patoot. You can't act all haughty or ugly or what. That's not the point here. I'm just saying you've got to get into your head as you're getting rid of the black plague. You've got to start saying, okay, now, this self-government thing, that really means I kind of like I'm at the top of the heap, and that means I've got a lot of responsibility here.
Right.
So I can't really just kind of go to sleep and watch TV and kind of say, somebody will take care of it. No, you will take care of it or nobody will.
Well, then what do you do, like Aerospaceman said, is that once we do this, he said the thing to make it effective will be enforcement. So the thing we have to do to make it effective is enforcement. And then he says, but the problem is we had with Restore America plan, when the Restore America plan came about, the leadership itself turned out to be corrupt. So how do we do this to make the enforcement of this?
Okay, read the book. In Fear the People, okay, there's a couple of issues. In chapter... Okay,
so in your book, Fear the People...
In my book, Fear the People... Free online on our website at americaagain.net. Okay. In the book, Fear the People, in chapter 11... I detail and explain the America Again indictment engine, how that works, what it's going to be. It's a law enforcement mechanism against state legislators and federal and members of Congress, okay? All of our legislators should be under the constant threat of, hey, if I break the law, the grand jury is the oldest part. It's far, far older than our Constitution. And as Justice Scalia said in the Johnson case back in 1992, I think it was, as Scalia explained, the grand jury is the people above government, above and prior to government saying, you know what, you're a judge. And so we can't bring you to another judge. We have to first, as a grand jury, we have to look at this presentment here and see the people that you've harmed. Or if you're a sheriff, or if you're a prosecutor, see all the people that are in charge, they're the gatekeepers of the courts, you've got to have somebody over them. Well, who can be over them?
Okay, and when we bring them back, Pet Monkey is asking, when we bring them back, who is going to pay them, federal, state, or what?
No. It's exactly the same. They'll make half what they make today. Under the Bring Congress Home. Okay, let me give you what the Bring Congress Home Act stipulates. It's the first one of our 22 reform laws. Read Chapter 12 of Fear the People, and you will see all 22 laws synopsized. It's a short synopsis. It's not the whole law, but we haven't actually written those laws yet. But the Bring Congress Home Act says this. Here are the stipulations. Number one, each member of Congress works from one modest office in his or her home district. Number two, they can only have a staff of 2. Number 3, they make only half their present salary, and it still comes from the federal budget. Congress will still have an operating budget. It'll be far smaller per person, far, far smaller per person. So they'll make half their present salary. Of course, since their districts are 1/15 the size they are today. That's still a great deal. Number 4, they will be limited to 2 terms. So in the House, you can only serve 4 years. You're done. That's it. You do not have a career in politics. No more. And number 5, you receive no benefits. Because if you're only going to serve 2 or 4 years, why would we want to pay you benefits? And we shouldn't have ever paid them benefits, ever. Some of these people have been criminally indicted, and they're still being paid their pensions. It's preposterous what they've done. Now, remember, Congress did all of this for themselves. They padded their own nest. They did all this. It's absurd what we've allowed to happen. No more of that. No more of that's what America Again's about. Now, we have to grow to national scale. So if you listen to me and you say, well, I've got all these problems with this dude, man. He's coming up with all these. Look, read my book. Internalize it and see if you can do better. If you can, I will definitely back you. Now, if you can't, stand up and join us in your town. If your town doesn't have anybody that belongs yet to America Again, you start it. Just one person. Find one other, and then there's going to be 2 of you. Here's what we're asking. By the time we do Proclamation Day, we're asking for every town that is involved to have 4 people involved. If you have 4 people involved, each person gets 1 proclamation sheet. These proclamation sheets are going to have 10 spaces for signatures on them where you can just go on a sidewalk, go to the grocery store, go wherever, and just get people to sign and say, look at this proclamation. Do you back this? Do you want this to happen? Will you sign here? And so you collect 10 signatures. And I think I said this before. This is not a, what do you call it? When you're passing out what's the word? Anyway, we are not asking for anything here. We are telling. This is a proclamation. Okay, so we are proclaiming in all 50 states on the same day. This is the way things are going to be.
So on that note, then what we're going to do is we're going to come back tomorrow for part 5. We're almost at the end of the hour right now, and one of the things that Pet Monkey would like you to bring up tomorrow on the show, at the beginning of the show, is what do we do about the malingerers, and how do we get rid of the seed holders? So can we talk about that tomorrow when you do part 5?
Yeah, and actually, I think we would do best if we discuss that online. In other words, if they come on the line and we talk about it. In other words,
okay.
Do this. I'd rather have a discussion, more of an open discussion with the group. So, thank you very much for listening to me again. It's always very fun to be with you, Maggie, and we will do this again tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow, folks. That's David Zuniga, CEO and founder of America Again. We want to thank all the people that are part of America Again now. We want to thank all those state leaders that we know that are in at least 10 different states in the union, that now we have 10 states. We need California, and we need Oregon to get on board, especially right now, and start going across the nation. I want to thank everybody who's in the chat room for listening. Make sure you tell your family and friends. I understand we've got 100 more listeners that have been listening to the show since David has come on. That is a really good thing, folks. So make sure you tell your family and friends and let them know that we do have a way to do this. We have a plan now, and this is one of the best ideas that I've heard come up in a long time. David, thank you so much for coming back on the show, and we'll have you back again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, folks. This is Maggie Rose. God bless and good night.